Okay, how we doing today? So I thought I'd chime in and maybe what I feel about things like I don't know, critical race, and maybe have my opinion about it from time to time. Also, things like maybe prejudice and so forth. But I saw the article too, y'all, about the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. In 1957, he was a 14-year-old boy that he was with apparently a few other guys, maybe a group of a couple of dozen other men, all right, at a school at the time where the schools were starting to integrate, integrate, okay, right around the time a little bit before the Brown board education, okay. So my father was caught up into that, all right, but because of the Brown and board, it's like a board education Supreme Court case. My dad was able to get into Dobbins Tech. I believe it was 1959. All right, and my dad graduated Dobbins Tech. That's in Philadelphia in 1961. But they didn't want to let him in actually. Okay, so a lot of people that look like me, they didn't agree with that. They pushed against actually the Brown and board education. Okay, because it would take a lot of the talent out of our black communities. Okay, that's one thing a lot of people didn't know. But back to Jerry Jones, okay, where he was just seen in the picture, but there was no proof that actually that he had spoke out or participated in any kind of way. A lot of people on podcasts that I looked at, that I looked on based on the situation, that they feel as though he's guilty until proven innocent. Okay, and maybe that's the case. All right, maybe that is the case. You have to look at during the time in which he came up. All right, where he may have heard things about black people and so forth. I don't know. His ancestors may have had slaves. All right, but they didn't have slavery at that time. He's 80 years old. Okay, that was abolished. But let me tell you, we all have personal prejudices about us. You know, maybe, I don't know, but a lot of people are concerned about why really he didn't have any black coaches, but he made a lot of black men millionaires. Okay, I mean, look at ever since he bought the team, they won what, 3 Super Bowls. I think if he would have had his son to be actually the general manager and the vice president of the team, but the president of the team, then they would have won more. But Jerry Jones likes, to streamline everything down to the water boy. He has made a lot of black men millionaires. Okay, and I'm not trying to take sides. You know, but we all right, if that's the case, have personal prejudices about us. Myself, growing up in Norfolk, Virginia. I've heard, as a kid, I've heard stories about slavery. And also, well, my mother, for example, that she made sure that me and my sister at that time read a lot of black history books and all that. Okay. So we always knew what our identity was. Okay. You didn't know where you were going if you didn't know where you came from. And again, a lot of whites and maybe blacks were, separate. It's not that at the time in the 70s and 80s that they didn't really like us, but it was kind of like one of the things was just to the best interest, to stay away. I don't know, the kind of keep your own, So I don't. It's one of the things where I never thought that white people were maybe prejudiced. Maybe they were, but they just probably just wanted to be left alone. Okay, I do know a lot of white people. Okay, and probably us. We probably learned over time to tolerate each other because everybody in a certain race is not bad, okay? There's good and scum in every race. So that may be one of the things. It's just what I think maybe with Jerry Jones. When you look at the changing times and so forth, and when it comes to business, all that's really out of the window. And I mentioned that before with Kyrie and also with Kanye. What they did was they said the truth, but being on the caliber in which they were, okay, then the truth is really is null and void whether it's the truth or not. Okay, so I'm not taking sides. You know, if that's what, but then again, that's the time in which Jerry Jones came up. That's probably who he was used to seeing. When he went to school, maybe around his house and so forth. I know that's how it was when I was coming up. All right, that if there was somebody white that did come by, all right, then everybody's wondering, well, what's this guy doing? Why is he here? But that was just used to what I was seeing. All right. Maybe he's the type of person that want to keep it in the family. See, it's not so much as just people being prejudiced. You know, some people in my family, the older people, were that way. All right, that they just wanted to kind of keep things, people to keep things within the family. All right, and that was kind of like that, I think, for older, older people. All right, just think that's starting to the guard on that is starting to go down a little bit, but there's always going to be somebody that's going to have a problem. All right, uh, with integration, or when other races get too close to them. All right, but all in all, I just think it was a picture. Okay, and whether he does or not, all right, I really didn't hear anything about maybe him making racial gestures and so forth. Okay, it'd probably be nice if he, would have a black coach, but that's his team. He could do whatever he wants. All right. Uh, I think if he does have it, he conceals it very well. Maybe unlike like Donald Sterling. Remember that guy for the Clippers? Okay. And he wouldn't be the only one. A lot of these older guys, those guys are some of them guys are very old, and they call that old money. All right, old money probably passed down from their great grandparents. All right, from crops and tobacco, slavery. All right, oil and that type of stuff. Again, in closing, I'm not saying that Jerry Jones is a racist. Okay, but you also have to look at the time in which he, came up and so forth. All right. Um, Maybe again over time, maybe is maybe a combination of business. Also, I don't know, but I just put it like this. All right, that I don't think that he's racist at all. Okay, so maybe I'm just letting you know from my experience. I grew up thinking things maybe stereotyped a certain way. I knew I wasn't racist and all that, but it really just took me time or whatever, maybe to realize that there's good and scum in every race. I don't think that all white people, were bad and all that. Okay, and there's some white people actually they'll treat you better than a lot of people that look like me. All right, and that's just from coming up again in an all-black spirit back home in southeastern Virginia, going to the army and all that. Um, Maybe when I went to high school, it was a culture shock and all that. Okay, and being that most of my colleagues, pretty much now when I in business, are white people and so forth. So, but I just think that when it comes to, I don't know, corporate and a corporate mindset, all this stuff doesn't really even matter. Now, let me know what you think about the video. I don't want to go on and on about it. All right. That's just my maybe opinion about things like prejudice and Jerry Jones and all that other stuff, and, race relations, that kind of thing. All right. This has been going on since the beginning of the time, actually.